So good morning, my friends. I have a lot to cover today. It is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. And Syrskyi says it's already started. Now, yesterday I was talking about the calm before the storm. Syrskyi says he's already seen an uptick. We'll talk about that in just a moment. 1,270 Russians off the battlefield day over day. 4 tanks, 10 armored fighting vehicles, 52 artillery systems, 118 vehicles and fuel tanks. That number, 1,270, brings us to 1,351, which is just below September, which is the fourth highest month of casualties at 1,354. So that's where we are right now on this day. Ukrainian forces shot down 32 Shahed drones out of 55 launched by Russia. Now, I want to talk about this. 8 more were suppressed by electronic means, so about 40 of 55. So a good number, 15 of them or so, got through and did some significant damage. Now, part of this is they have different tactics, and I talked about this in another video about how the tactics have changed. You'll put like one high and one low simultaneously, and it's harder to shoot down. But part of this is that they're targeting more specific places, like looking at specific cities and going after these places rather than random all over the place. And you'll see that in just a moment as well. I was talking to someone in the know, like, what's going on? Why is it only 55, right? 55 total. Well, so the Ukrainians have been doing a good job of destroying the place where they store these Shahed drones. So that's part of it. It could also be weather related or other things, but this number is, I think, not because they're saving up for a rainy day, but because they don't have them. And I've been going back and forth with myself about which is which, like what's going on here, why it's going on the way it is. Okay. Russian forces launched 55 Shahed drones against Ukraine overnight on April 9. Russian attacks killed 1 person and injured 31 people over the past day in Kharkiv, Kherson, Donetsk, and Dnipro. Okay, so that's 4 places, but they really targeted 2 specifically. Russians launched drone attacks on the residential neighborhoods of 2 cities simultaneously. Again, of the residential neighborhoods. This is a war crime going after a civilian population like this. Around 20 explosions in Kharkiv and more than a dozen in Dnipro, with many victims in both cities. Russians again hunting Ukraine's civilian population tonight in several cities. Here in Kharkiv, 17 Russian drones targeted 1 residential neighborhood. And this is an image of that posted by Jay in Kyiv. Okay, so Syrskyi Lyask, governor of the Dnipropetrovsk region, said that Dnipro suffered the most from the overnight Russian attacks, which wounded at least 15 people, leaving almost all of them in serious condition. Okay, so that was the attacks, the Russian drone attacks on civilians overnight. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. A few days ago, this is from the defense of Ukraine. A few days ago, our successful actions led to the destruction of a Tu-22 M3 strategic bomber. This is a big one. It just landed and our drones struck it. It just landed and drones struck it. So that's, I mean, didn't even have to take them in the air. You could get drones to do it. Cost around $1 million for one of these. And so, yeah, it's nice. That's a good payday or return on investment for the drones. Okay, Russian Telegram channels report that the Mozdok military airfield in Russia was attacked by drones. Listen to this. According to Russian media, last night, massive drone attack on Russia took place. They reported shooting down 158 drones in at least 12 regions of Russia. Now, the information that I have is very scarce. We'll see more of this over the next few days, just like this thing from a few days ago with the Tu-22 was just being reported now. We'll see more of what happened over the next few days. It's very scant information right now. Ukraine's Air Force struck a Russian military warehouse complex in Syrskyi, Kursk region, destroyed hangars, buildings, and equipment. Over 30 Russians, including UAV crews and repair teams, were eliminated, according to the general staff. So that's just part of it, but I don't have a whole lot more information about the drone strikes last night, the Ukrainian drone strikes on Russia. Okay, so in the Pokrovsk direction, let's turn our attention to the battlefield. Pokrovsk direction, Russian invaders led 51 assaults. That's reasonably high given the number of of casualties here at 1270. So, they want Pokrovsk, and they're attacking Pokrovsk in multiple ways. This is the ISW talking about it. Ukrainian forces recently advanced near Pokrovsk. At the same time, Russian forces recently advanced in Kursk, Belgorod Oblast near Liman, Toretsk, Pokrovsk, and Velka Novosilka. Now, Pokrovsk again. So the Russians are advancing near Pokrovsk and the Ukrainians are advancing near Pokrovsk. Yeah, different parts of the battlefield. This is what it looks like around Pokrovsk. A unit of Ukrainian drone pilots stationed in Pokrovsk is working to defend the city from Russian attacks. Their efforts have helped hold off the offensive, but months of fierce fighting have taken a toll. The city now appears uninhabitable. Well, they can still fight in it, but it's not a place where civilians want to live. Russian forces have spent the last 13 months and lost over 5 divisions worth of tanks, thousands of troops attacking toward Pokrovsk and trying to seize the town. Ongoing Russian offensive operations to seize Pokrovsk and attack Konstantinivka highlight Russian President Vladimir Putin's determination to seize all of Ukraine through military means at whatever the cost. This is according to the ISW. And there's a little bit more. Russian forces are currently pursuing 3 distinct tactical objectives in the Pokrovsk direction, but Ukrainian drone operators and operations have localized counterattacks are continuing to complicate Russian advances in the area. Like last August, I was worried about Pokrovsk. I was like, man, I hope that winter comes soon because at this rate, it looks like Pokrovsk is going to be overrun. I was wrong. I'm glad to be wrong, but I was worried about it. Russian forces have only made marginal advances due to localized Ukrainian counterattacks and improved integration of ground forces and drone forces. So they have almost a combined arms effect with drones. It's really fascinating to watch. Okay, frontline report. This was not yesterday, like yesterday being reported today, but the day before. I saw it later after I did this yesterday. Ukrainian forces repelled 3-wave Russian mechanized assault near Kharkiv. Russia lost approximately 17 vehicles, 40 personnel, while failing to advance beyond the first Ukrainian minefield. Okay, so that was a good day for them there in that theater. Okay, Ukraine's Air Force struck the command post of Russia's 81st Self-Propelled Artillery Regiment in Kherson region. As a result, 20 to 30 Russians were reportedly eliminated. And you can see that's not a cloud, that's something else. The goal of the incursion. Now, yesterday we were talking about the incursion into Belgorod, which Zelensky just acknowledged for the first time. The goal of the incursion is to protect Ukraine's Sumy and Kharkiv regions, which border Belgorod. Okay, so that's what the Ukrainians are doing. Now, today, I saw this for the first time where Syrskyi, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, said this, quote, "The Russian offensive in Sumy and Kharkiv regions has actually started." Okay, so we know that the Russian offensive, there's going to be a new Russian offensive. It's probably going to last 3 months, maybe 6 months, somewhere between that. And as soon as the weather permits it, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong, right? We know that that's coming, but at least in Sumy and Kharkiv, it's already started. We've seen almost a 2-fold increase in the number of enemy offensives on all major directions. So I was just talking yesterday about the calm before the storm, and then I saw this headline. I'm like, well, okay, maybe I'm a little late to the party, but yeah, it's already started. Okay, Russia is racing to build a military railway through occupied southern Ukraine, a steel artery meant to pump weapons from Donbass to Crimea. Now, this is the way that the Russians tend to roll. Like, this is how the old Soviet structure was very rail dependent. Like in the United States, we don't think about that. We think of railways as an anachronism or an afterthought, and we truck things everywhere. Well, trucks are in danger of being ambushed on, so it's just a different thing. It's a little bit more secure to be on the railway, believe it or not. Why the rush? Because over 90% of supplies to Crimea now depend on vulnerable road convoys. But here's the Kremlin's problem. Bridges and choke points are constantly targeted by Ukraine's defenders. And this is a map of what the railway system is looking like, trying to get things down into Crimea. All right. So you know what happened? This terrible attack on Kryvyi the other day, and the children killed on the playground by a ballistic missile. Okay, so Russia's UN ambassador then, just a couple days ago now, speaking at the UN Security Council meeting, lied that as a result of the Russian ballistic strike on Kryvyi, the enemy losses amounted up to 85 servicemen and officers of foreign countries. They're just doubling down on that lie. And we can prove, we have the video evidence of where I showed you this yesterday, the video evidence of what the cafe looked like, and there was nothing going on there. And so he's doubling down. Senator Roger Wicker, Republican from Mississippi, would have none of it. Let's listen to him for just a moment.
Today, the residents of President Zelensky's own hometown, a little village by the name of Kryvyi, Ukraine, began a 3-day period of mourning. They're grieving yet another deadly, barbaric attack by Vladimir Putin. On Friday, President Putin launched drones and Iranian-made ballistic missiles into a residential section of that small city. These drones and missiles injured at least 68 people and killed at least 20 people. Among the dead were 9 children. They were all non-combatants, ordinary civilians living an ordinary day, visiting friends, stopping in shops, dining at restaurants, and playing at a children's playground. The attack on a civilian neighborhood is just the latest sign that Putin has no regard for life. But he underscored that fact by raining cluster munitions onto a children's playground.
Yeah. So Wicker is standing up and he's sounding the alarm. And we see this starting to gain a little bit of momentum. It's not enough. I wish there was more, but okay. Here's Zelensky talking about how he met with representatives of Ukraine and Belgian defense companies, together with Belgian Prime Minister Bart De Wever. Forgive me, I'm probably slaughtering that name. It's probably something very different. Put it in the comments below. Help me pronounce it. We viewed Ukrainian-made equipment. And so this is some of the Ukrainian-made equipment that they viewed. And it was pretty fascinating looking at some of the drones and some of the other technology that they had, the optical technology. Yeah, Ukraine's really been hyper productive. Again, necessity some other invention, so they have to. But it's been really amazing to see what they're coming up with. Here's a seaborne drone, for example. Okay, so that happened yesterday or the day before yesterday. Okay, Congressman. Now, General Cavoli spoke to the Senate last week, and now he's speaking to the House. And so Congressman Pat Harrigan is talking to him about, well, FPV drones and things along those lines. Let's hear what Cavoli is being asked and how he answers.
Understanding that 80% of the Russian soldiers who are being killed in the Ukrainian conflict are being killed by FPV drones.
Yes, I've seen those figures, sir. I think it's probably pretty hard for us to make sure we're accurate on those, given our ability to be there and count and everything. But it's certainly well over half, and it's certainly a large number, and it's a number that has increased steadily over the course of the conflict.
And I would say that these low-cost,
Let me pause for a moment. If I'm seeing this correctly, that looks like, and I'm not sure, yeah, that looks like a Special Forces emblem with the 2 arrows crossing, and it says De Oppresso Liber, which translates, if you remember your Latin, to something roughly approximating to liberate the oppressed or liberators of the oppressed. That's the congressman has that on his lapel.
Impact systems are fundamentally rewriting the rules of the battlefield. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, the equipment, Congressman, that is software defined, where a greater part of its capability is defined by its software. Those are super easy and super inexpensive to modify and adapt. And so you can take a piece of hardware, and by manipulating the software, you can stay ahead of the enemy's countermeasures.
Yeah, and then that's what they have to do because with the drones, for example, they have to they fly the drones. The enemy figures out how to electronically disable it, so they have to figure out a different way of getting around that and doing a different something with the software in order to make it unable. And it's just back and forth, back and forth. The technology race here in drones is just stunning. Okay, Belgium, the other day, this was yesterday or the day before, I think it was yesterday, Belgium will allocate $1 billion in defense aid package to Ukraine, according to the Belgian prime minister. And then we saw this as well. Buffett's foundation committed to surpassing $1 billion in aid to Ukraine this year. So Republican philanthropist Howard Buffett visits Ukraine mine-contaminated regions, saying Putin won't respect any ceasefire despite Trump's negotiation attempts. I think that's right. And there we are. Okay, Norway has announced a new massive artillery funding package for Ukraine worth roughly 5 billion kroner. That's $450 million. That's a big deal. 365 million of that will go to the Czech-run artillery ammunition procurement effort. And so thank you to Norway. Thank you to Buffett. Thank you to Belgium again. Yeah. The last batch of Czechoslovak T-72M1 tanks has been sent to Ukraine, marking the end of their 38-year service in the Czech military. Around 100 T-72M1 tanks were sent to Ukraine by Czechia, approximately 280 of these by Poland. Saw this and I thought, oh, that's not good. This is in Ukrainian form. Russia plans to resettle at least 5 million Russians in the occupied territories of Ukraine by 2030. Well, why are they sending Russians there? Because they're trying to Russify and make it all part of Russia. Yeah. This is how they roll. If you're wondering why Russia is the biggest country by landmass on Earth, now you know. Okay, they send reconnaissance drones. We send hunters. One blink and the Merlin is gone. So like hunter drones that go and knock down these reconnaissance drones are part of that back and forth of trying to learn the other's tech and be able to defeat it. So I don't know why, but this is somehow enjoyable to see when they're taking these down. Okay, last little bit. Midweek greetings from the tank crew. May your Wednesday roll out smooth. All right. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.